you know, looking back now, I can see like even back as early as maybe like junior high and high school, I remember, oh, just thinking like my female classmates, like, oh, they're so pretty or having some attraction to them. But again, I just thought like all girls feel this way about other girls, like back
Yeah.
in, junior high, high school. And it wasn't until, more recent years when I realized, like, no, actually, I'm queer. So that's kind of how that all came to light.
Well, because that is a very interesting point. Because, I mean, if you were to look at, I guess, society and I guess the media and certain movies, like you always look at those movies where there are people who are in their college years and it's like, women experimenting with women. And it's usually in a way to kind of, turn on the guys and all those things. It's kind of like what you see out there. So it's a really interesting point that you could assume that all women might just go through that phase or what people would call that as well for themselves, right? Welcome to the Queer Quest podcast, your beacon of light and sprinkle of glitter in the queer community. I'm your host, Cristiano Green, CEO and founder of Queer Quest and a transformation coach for queer individuals. And together, we're embarking on a journey of transformation. Each week, we bring you a new training topic or connect you with visionary queer leaders in healing and coaching, diving deep into conversations that inspire growth, celebrate diversity, and empower you to live authentically. So wherever you are, settle in and let's get ready to unlock the vibrant potential within. This is where your quest begins. Hello, you fabulous souls, and welcome to this week's episode of the Queer Quest podcast. I'm your host, Cristiano Green, the CEO and founder of Queer Quest. And this week on the podcast, we have a very special guest with us today. We have Jill Brandl, who is a therapist and transformation coach for queer women. Thanks for joining us, Jill.
Thanks for having me, Cristiano. I'm thrilled to be here.
I'm super excited to be chatting to you today because I know something big recently happened in your life, and that's one of the big reasons why we're going to have you on the podcast and share your story. You just recently came out at the age of 47.
47. That's right. That's right.
Wow. Do you want to share a little bit about maybe like just your journey in life of like, because for me, I've got some questions like, oh, did she know? Like, is it something that came out later in life? Like maybe share a little bit of backstory so that we can understand where Jill came from.
Yes, I would love to. So, yeah, I just recently came out publicly as a queer woman just a couple of weeks ago, and it's been a journey. So, like, to start kind of back at the journey, when I first, I think, started to realize that I was queer, um, I remember like it was maybe in my 30s, I was realizing, okay, I think not all women actually feel this way about other women.
Oh,
I think
yes.
I'm probably queer. I think like earlier in my life, I just maybe assumed that like all women feel some level of like attraction to other women, but that's not actually the case. And so, it's kind of like now that I'm out and I'm just looking back at my life, I can see clearly the road I've been on. And, you know, looking back now, I can see like even back as early as maybe like junior high and high school, I remember, oh, just thinking like my female classmates, like, oh, they're so pretty or having some attraction to them. But again, I just thought like all girls feel this way about other girls, like back
Yeah.
in, junior high, high school. And it wasn't until, more recent years when I realized, like, no, actually, I'm queer. So that's kind of how that all came to light.
Well, because that is a very interesting point. Because, I mean, if you were to look at, I guess, society and I guess the media and certain movies, like you always look at those movies where there are people who are in their college years and it's like, women experimenting with women. And it's usually in a way to kind of, turn on the guys and all those things. It's kind of like what you see out there. So it's a really interesting point that you could assume that all women might just go through that phase or what people would call that as well for themselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think the way that I grew up in a small town in Iowa in the US, which is like very conservative, like a lot of rural areas. And so, I mean, I can look back and say growing up all through school, even through high school graduation, I think there was only one gay person, one like out gay person in my entire high school. Um, and so it just wasn't even something that was like an option or something that I even considered. I didn't know any other queer people at all growing up. Even in college, there wasn't anybody that I knew who was queer. And so it just sort of wasn't even on my radar to think about, like, oh, is this who I am as well?
It's hard to explore stuff when you don't like have people around you as role models or you can talk to, or even you feel like comfortable to sharing these things, because again, there's a lot of fear and a lot of shame and a lot of guilt that might come around it. So I can imagine, especially, I mean, it's obviously gotten better. It's not where we need it to be, but this is 20, 30 odd years ago for you. Even longer if you're saying through high school, where back then, this is 80s, 90s, that could be like a really tough time, because even on TV, like, you had pretty much no one that would come out publicly as celebrity, or I think the closest thing I can remember is somewhere in the 90s, Ellen DeGeneres, right? Like, and like, that's one out of a bazillion people, right?
Yeah. And of course, I mean, back in the 80s and 90s, this was before the internet. So,
Yes.
there was no internet to look things up and explore. There was no social media. There was nothing. I had my like 17 magazine come to me every month, and if I could get my hands on Cosmo, that was extra racy. But even then, that was all totally like hetero stuff. So
Totally.
there was nothing for me to refer to. There was no representation for me to set my eye on.
Yeah, totally can understand that. So, would you say from your experience growing up then, like, did you just fall into the normal, I'm going to find a man, I'm going to get married? Like, what was your story in relation to that?
Yes, that was totally my story, because the other part of my story was that I grew up Catholic, and so it was just very, like, say no more, I mean,
Yeah.
it was very like there were no gay people, there were no queer people, that was not okay. And um so that was that. It just wasn't even an option, really. And so yeah, I grew up, I married a man, had two children.
Oh,
That relationship did not work out. And then I had a second marriage to a man, and that ended, oh, maybe like 4 years ago. And I remember thinking, like, when I was in a relationship with different men over time, thinking like, gosh, I really wish at least one time in my life that I could just experience what it's like to be with a woman, Like,
mm,
if I could just have that experience connecting with a woman once in my life, that would be so nice, because it really wasn't an option. And I just realized, well, I'm married to a man, and so that's just not a part of myself that I'm going to be able to explore in this lifetime. And I think as I got older and as time went on, I realized, okay, I realized more, the truth about myself, which was that I am queer and I am attracted to women. And then when I ended that relationship, my most recent relationship with a man being like 4 years ago or
yeah,
so, I kind of would joke with my kids, like, because even though I came out publicly just a few weeks ago, like, I
mm,
had come out to my
of
kids
course.
and my family probably like, a couple of years ago. And
Mm.
so they've known, and I've said, like, I've had it with trying husbands. Like, if I ever get married again, I'm getting myself a wife. So, um, that's kind of how that all unfolded relationship wise over time.
Okay. And so I'm assuming that since that point you have been in a relationship, or you may or may not be in one now with a woman. Um, Tell me, because you wondered what it was going to be like. So when you actually did start dating women, what did you find out about yourself and relationships?
Well, actually, I have not dated a woman. So that's another thing that's really interesting. I'm glad you asked that question. Um, I'm just really in this period of my life where I'm on a self-growth and self-healing path. And I want to make sure that when I'm ready to start dating, that I can totally bring my best self to that relationship or to those interactions. I mean, and not just for the relationship, but for me, because what I realized was that throughout my whole life, I mean, I think from the time that I was basically like 17 or 18, I was in a relationship like one after the next, up until about 4 years ago. So I'm like, I want to take a conscious break from being in a relationship and
I
from
get it.
dating. And so, but when I am ready to start dating, I'm definitely going to start dating women. And I just, I would find myself like looking at seeing relationships that other women were having with each other, whether it was like TikTok or social media accounts or like in movies or shows, and like feeling like I really want that. Like there's such a part of my heart that's like, oh, how wonderful is that going to be when I can explore having a beautiful romantic and intimate relationship with a woman. And I know that's something that's in my future. Um, but it won't be until I'm ready to bring my best self, my most authentic self to that situation.
I love that, and I can see that, and I think that's important for you to get to a place where you feel comfortable and ready to have another relationship before you dive back in. Question for you though, Jill.
Hmm.
What needs to happen? What are you trying to work on or heal within yourself in this period of your life that you're waiting for you to actually start dating a woman?
Yeah, so I went through a lot of stress and challenge in my career, which led me to a huge burnout a couple of years ago. And I feel that I'm really going through this almost like personal resurrection phase of my life where I'm getting myself into my most optimal mental health, physical health. And I really want to make sure that when I'm ready to start dating, that I'm doing it from a place of, no codependency, no looking for someone else to like fill some emptiness within me.
Yeah,
That I feel so healthy and complete within me. And then having a relationship is just a beautiful addition to my already complete life.
I like that, and I think that's important to feel like I said, you feel because especially if you're like I said, made a shift in your career and you're doing stuff now where like you're trying to grow your business of helping other queer women as well. It's important for you to, like I said, get yourself to a place where you feel settled within yourself before you add on another layer of something that could, potentially shift, where you're at mentally and physically as well.
Yeah, um, there were so many things in my life, I think over these past, decade or more where I realized I was just kind of pushing my own self to the back burner and just suppressing so much of myself, and also just I think especially in my work, just tolerating my work. So I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner is my training. And so typically that profession does med management, like psychiatric medication management.
Yeah.
Um, and I did that for 7 years in a kind of a community mental health center, hospital type setting. And, I didn't know it when I went to school for that at the time that I would not really enjoy it, but it became very apparent to me as the years went on that it just was not fulfilling to me to do that work. But I did it. I kept doing it for 7 years. And even through the pandemic and everything, with working in healthcare was a very stressful
Oh, yeah.
space. So it really took a toll on my mental health and my well-being. And so when I left that job kind of abruptly in a way because I had become so burned out and just really not in a good place within my own emotional self and mental health. And so that is also why I've just really wanted to take some time
Yeah.
to get myself feeling so good and just get really clear on the direction for my life, both with my career, with relationships, and all of that before I tried to introduce dating into that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's very relatable. I mean, I speak to so many people in the queer community every day, every month, every year, and so many of the people that are out there that are in our community are in fields where we're helping others, where we're giving a lot of ourselves to other people. And I think a lot of times as humans, but I definitely know a lot of people in our community will work so hard to help other people but they often aren't always taking care of themselves first, and it leads to burnout. And then maybe you're in a profession that you love, but the burnout, takes over, and you might leave that profession because of feeling that stress and that overwhelm. Or it also might be something that's an indicator to say, hey, maybe I need to look at what I'm doing. This isn't the right way of me trying to help other people. And it sounds like you were able to find something that's maybe more aligned to where you are in this stage, in this season of your life.
Absolutely. I think that I had just because of some challenges growing up and what I would say some different traumas and even religious trauma and all of that, I think I found myself in this pattern of like overachievement and hyperachievement. And so it was many years, if not a decade or more, of me just chasing these accolades and certifications and degrees, and just became this never ending parade of like self improvement and trying to like looking back I can see that I think I was searching for a sense of completion or a sense of trying to heal myself. Like I became a yoga instructor, a Reiki master. I mean, I just got like all of these, trainings and certifications, and it was
You were
just
collecting all these
I
things, right?
was it was a never ending process. And like looking back now, I can be grateful for the fact that my body just said stop. Like the burnout, it was just like the brakes are going on. We are stopping this runaway train of Jill Brandl, like my runaway train of my dysfunctional patterns. And so it was like I was getting all of my self-worth from achievements
Yes.
and from helping
Perfectionism,
other
and yeah,
people.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's what ultimately led to my burnout and just a lot of self-sabotaging, addictive behaviors. And these last few years has been me just really digging in deep to heal a lot of that.
And it sounds like obviously this all was happening around the time where you were come to a place of coming out, I guess. To Of course, it
Mm-hmm.
just came out publicly recently, but privately, like it all sounds like it was all bubbling up to the surface, ready for you to fully. It was all coming out as you were coming out, I guess.
It was all this journey of like, who am I? What do I want to have in my life? What do I want to do with my time? What kind of people do I want to surround myself with? And then it's like, who do I get to be in order to have those things that I desire? And that's been this process of just peeling away the layers of anything that feels fake or false or that I have to somehow strive to show up in a certain way. And I'm just like, it feels so good to just be me now and just be who I am and be in a healthy place and do work that I actually love.
That's beautiful. And that's the goal that I'm sure so many out there aspire to do work that you love. It's one facet of your life. We're all multifaceted, human beings. And, being able to find something that you truly love is something that I think, a lot of people are out there striving to do as well.
Mm-hmm. I think, and I went through kind of this phase of like before I fully recognized within myself that I'm queer, I was like, oh, I'm such an ally. I'm such an ally for the queer community. And
Yeah.
my second husband actually asked me once, like, why are you so obsessed with queer people? Like and I'm like, well, it's all closeted and stuffed down in there somewhere, but it was this like, I'm such an ally, such an ally. And then it's like, no, that's not what this is. I'm actually queer as well. And I remember years ago thinking, like, gosh, wouldn't it be so cool if I could be out and if I could also then work with the queer community, and be like, I am queer. I am working with the queer population, doing therapy, doing coaching. And it was almost like a dream that felt that I could never achieve that because it wasn't safe. And that was due to the religious upbringing, the religious trauma,
Yeah.
and some family dynamics. Like it just felt like an impossible situation for me. So for me to be now out publicly out at 47 just feels so good and so like it's just a life-changing process.
Definitely. And again, very relatable. I mean, so many people, struggle to get to the place of acceptance within themselves, but then even to the point where they can come out, especially, like I said, growing up in a different era, through religion that comes with a lot of trauma. I mean, I've had a number of different people on here who were deeply into their religion, who now help people through religious trauma. Had people who were pastors and ministers come on, and so I know how deep rooted that trauma can be, as well. And so it's no matter what happens in life, we're constantly unveiling the masks and the stuff that we've put on ourselves through our families, through church, through society's expectations of who we are. And it sounds like you're absolutely going through that beautiful journey now. And I'm curious, Jill, because you have yet to have a relationship with a woman. And so when you said you came out as queer, and don't get me wrong, if this obviously this is coming from a place of love, where are you on the journey? Would you say that you're bisexual? Would you say you're a lesbian, or like, are you just classing yourself as queer? Like, I think it's important to see like where you've come to within your own journey as well.
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that because it's been this just total untangling and like deconditioning of everything. And so initially when I first came out, I was like, okay, I think I'm bisexual. I mean, I definitely know like, well, I've had just relationships with men my entire life, and I know that there's been attraction there. Um, and then I know that I'm also attracted to women. And so initially I was saying like I identified as bisexual, but as I continue to peel back the layers, I think, well, perhaps I'm actually a lesbian because when I think about having a relationship with anyone, male or female, um, I'm like, when I think about the intimacy, the emotional intimacy, and the idea of like who do I want to build a life with when I do start to date again, I don't feel that I have any desire to do that with a man now. And so to me that says, well, perhaps I am a lesbian and that I'm still deconditioning some of those societal beliefs and religious beliefs that it needs to be, that I need to somehow be with a man. Because when I look at examples of relationships that I'm like, oh, that looks like a beautiful relationship. That's what I would like to have. It's with two women.
Two women.
And I just love the idea too of just like living my life with, finding a woman that's like, this is my best friend. We love being together. We enjoy each other's company so much. We have beautiful emotional intimacy and physical intimacy. And that is the life that I want to build for myself moving forward. And so, yeah, I'm still like unraveling all of this. And, um, but I think it's I'm glad you asked that question because I feel like so many of us go on this journey of trying to figure out like, well, what is my label and what am I?
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's okay, right? Like it's okay to just let it unfold organically and to find ourselves in that identity as it naturally and organically unfolds.
Yeah, I agree. And thank you for sharing that as you're going through it, because I believe that the people out there who are listening, they're going to be people who are in that position where, like I said, because it's a journey of embracing yourself and coming to terms with whatever feels right for you. And for so many people out there, that can ebb and flow. You can shift and change, and that's okay. In every season of your life, you get to choose how you want to be and how you feel. And like I said, we evolve as humans and our perceptions and all of that shift and change. And so I bet there are going to be so many people out there who are listening, probably going through that. Like I said, the queer community is a very vast community with so many different subsections of it. And I was curious to ask that because I think there's, like I said, it's an important definition because yes, I class myself as queer, but I'm also gay. I'm also gender fluid. And it's hard to sometimes represent every part of who you are by also trying to represent the overarching community. So it's important to like I said, to for you for each individual to go on their own journey of queerness, of attempting your queerality. It's really powerful. So I love that. I think it's time that we take a little quick break, and after the break we're going to come back and we're going to continue this because I bet there's so much more powerful and beautiful stuff that Jill has to share. So we'll see you back in just a minute.
In a world where every journey is unique, one path shines brightly for the queer community. Introducing QueerQuest, the first of its kind personal development platform designed exclusively for us, by us. At QueerQuest, we understand the multifaceted journey of queer identity. That's why we've created a space where you can explore, learn, and grow with the guidance of queer experts from around the globe. Whether you're seeking to enhance your physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual well-being, QueerQuest is your gateway to transformation. Imagine embarking on quests tailored to your journey of self-discovery, finding community, and unlocking your queer excellence. QueerQuest offers online courses, coaching programs, and soon workshops, seminars, retreats, and festivals, all designed to empower you to live your best life. Ready to start your adventure? Join us at www.queerquest.vip to become part of a movement towards personal and collective greatness. Sign up today to join the waitlist and be the first to know when we launch. QueerQuest, where your journey of self-discovery and transformation begins. Don't just dream of a life filled with pride and purpose, make it your reality with QueerQuest. Visit www.queerquest.vip now. Your quest awaits.
Awesome. We are back here with Jill Brandl, and we had some powerful stuff that she shared before the break. I wanted to switch gears a little bit because I was reading some of the stuff that you share on your blog, and I love the whole concept that because so many people can relate to having a dark night of the soul. And I know that you shared that you had your own experience with having the dark night of the soul. So I'd love for you to, kind of share the story around what that means to you. What is your dark night of the soul? What that meant to you, and really kind of how that shifted where you are in your life.
Yeah, thank you for asking about that. It's been a really pivotal experience in my life. And so, the dark night of the soul, which I talk about on one of my blog posts, it was back in 2021 is when it all kind of culminated. And I had been working full time in a hospital setting as a psych NP prescribing meds. I was working 48 hours a week, sitting at a desk all day, seeing up to 18 patients a day, and just like prescribing meds, prescribing meds. And, it's like, well, this is what I went to school for. I got a master's degree in this. I still have the student loans to prove it. And I just felt like this is what I'm doing. And I definitely enjoyed the patients. It's not that it was the patient's issue or their fault that I was not enjoying the work, but what I realized was that I personally did not find fulfillment in just simply writing prescriptions all day, sitting at a desk and at a computer all day. And so it slowly built and it slowly built the like the burnout, the stress, the exhaustion,
Mhm.
to the point where there was one point where I myself was on 5 different medications for my own mental health. I was on
Oh,
like 2 antidepressants. I was on a stimulant. I was on anti-anxiety medication, sleeping medication. I think just trying to keep myself afloat in this career that just was completely unfulfilling to me. And so I just kept going like that.
numbing the pain or
Initially,
avoiding what
yeah,
was
numbing the
going on.
pain,
Yeah.
avoiding. I was also in addiction, and just, I would just go home every day after work and like binge eat, watch TV, everything I could do to numb my feelings. And I remember that it just started to feel like it was almost like, if you imagine a conveyor belt and the parts are coming at you and they're coming faster and faster and everything's just starting to fall on the floor. That's how I
Yeah.
felt like my life was going. And so, like the pivotal moment that I talk about in my blog post was I had gone home for lunch one day from work, and then I had driven back to the hospital to continue working. And I just sat in my car, and it was like I needed to get out and go inside. There was a patient waiting for me, and I was like, I can't go inside. I can't do this. I was just sobbing, and I was like, I don't know what's going to happen with my career from here on, but I just know that I can't continue to do this.
Bad at it. Yeah.
So I put my notice in, I quit, and I always thought, okay, one day I want to start a holistic private practice doing just therapy, doing holistic mental health support and coaching. It was a one-day dream. But I think my soul was like, no, you are going to start this dream now, and we're shutting this down. And so that's how that all happened. And I just left the job to start my private practice.
I love that. I love how, sometimes like the universe, God, whatever people out there define or call that higher power, it can push us in the direction because, like I said, you had a dark night of the soul, and it's literally what a dark night of the soul is there to do, is to like have you kind of emerge, come out of that shell, that cocoon, and really allow yourself to shine and say, look, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I really cannot live life this way anymore. If I do, it's going to kill me. And I don't,
Mm-hmm.
I want to live, and I want to actually be alive. There's difference between living and being alive. And it sounds like through that journey, you chose to be alive.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was like, I felt like there were just so many areas of my life that I was just tolerating. Like,
Mm,
I'm just going to tolerate this relationship. I'm just going to tolerate this work. I'm going to tolerate all these things until, yeah, my system was like, no, you can't tolerate this anymore. And yes, like God, universe, divine source was like, boom, no more tolerating. It's time for a shift. Um, and it was really, I mean, it took me quite a few years to come through that.
yeah, it's not just an overnight thing. Even if you get that message and you're clear on where your path, there's a lot of like I said, unlayering of all the shit, really,
Yes.
that we have in our
Yes.
life that we need to decipher, and our beliefs need to shift and evolve, and we need to start unbelieving things and finding new beliefs that really support where we are in this next chapter.
Yeah, because I think there was so much shame,
Mm,
which of course was I believe, instilled in my youth in the religious stuff and my upbringing of like, you need to be good, you need to be a good girl, you need to act right, be proper, don't attract negative attention or whatever. And so there, I think there was just so much internalized shame within
mm,
myself, which was also what had led me on this never ending spree of accolades and self-improvement and degrees and certifications, trying to prove to myself that I was good enough, I was smart enough, I was worthy. And so, yeah, there was so much shame. And so, not only was there shame, I think about my sexuality, that it was totally closeted at that point, there was also a bunch of shame about my career. Like, well, what is wrong with me? It doesn't seem like any of my colleagues are experiencing this. No one else is crying in their car at lunch and not wanting to come back inside. So it was just shame from every direction. And so I really had to go in and heal all of that shame and really learn to love myself.
I love that, and it's true. Like the journey of what a dark night is to do is to actually allow us to come and step forth so that we can love ourselves more. So it's powerful to get to that point. Curious to the question that's popped into my mind, Jill, for your journey. You said you were taking 5 different medications, and I know from out there, from speaking to so many people in our community, that medications are, almost, handed out like candy sometimes as well. There's so many people in our community who are on antidepressants or anti-anxiety or other medication for other mental health, disorders out there and problems, for sure. And I know, like I said, mental health in the queer community is 2 to 3 times higher in every single category. What's your journey been with medications? Also getting to the point of like, like I said, you left that career. So what's like, I'd love to hear your journey with it. And also like, what's your perspective shift as you've been going through this journey as well?
Yeah, thank you. So as I was saying, and as that was my job full time for 7 years. I was prescribing meds to people full time every day. And what I would find is that people would come in and they would just, it would be like, my meds aren't working, my meds aren't working. And we would, okay, well, let's try this, let's prescribe this. It was a constant like whack-a-mole, because if we're not able to go in and do some of that deeper work, then it's just like a band-aid.
Yeah,
And certainly, I don't want to give the impression that I'm completely anti medication, because I do believe for many people it's life saving. And I
I
do believe for many people it's very necessary. And so, for anybody who's listening to this, if it's supportive for you, then by all means, continue to do what's best for you. However, in my own life and in my own experience being on the medications, I felt that they were just simply numbing me so that I could continue to tolerate a life that wasn't in alignment with who I was. And it was like there was only so long that that could continue to hold me up or prop me up before everything came crashing down. And, you know, in that lived experience, and then, of course, in my professional experience as a former prescriber,
Yeah.
it's like that's what I would see. It's like it's a band-aid on a hemorrhage. And if we don't go in and address it at the root, it's not going to be the main solution.
And yeah, and that's why I wanted to touch on that, because I have a similar understanding and feeling around, medication like that. There are definitely people out there who, with where they're at in terms of how they see life and feel with internally, that they need it for themselves. And I'm not a person to say you should not be taking medication, because each individual journey is different. I also, though, have seen so many of my clients who've come and worked with me that when we've done the work internally, they've also been able to get themselves off of these medications and live life more authentically and free of that, free of the depression, free of the anxiety, free of those suicidal thoughts that they've been dealing with for many, many years. And as you said, for your own journey of unlayering, like, you stop numbing yourself from that stuff. You had to go through the stuff to actually come out the other side. And you're now, I believe, medication free.
Yeah. I've been free of medication now for probably almost 2 years. I think the last one that I was on was Adderall for ADHD, and I came to realize I don't think I probably have ADHD. I think I just wasn't meant to sit at a desk for 40 hours a week typing on a computer inside of an office, you know? So it's like we're all built so different. And when we can start to connect with and honor the ways that we're meant to live our own lives that feel fulfilling, then we don't need to medicate it all away. And I mean, I think it's just so worth mentioning that there are so many things in our society that cause people so much suffering,
Oh,
all
yes.
of this pressure, right, to like conform and be a certain way, and how it's not safe to be yourself in so many ways, depending on people's different identity and cultural background and all of that, you
Oh,
know.
yeah.
It's like the society is sick. It's not the people who are sick. And then the people are the ones being medicated to try and just survive all of this societal dysfunction.
Correct. I agree. And for the people out there who are listening who may be in a similar experience, the thing about life is we all have our own journey. There's no necessary right or wrong. You get to decide what you feel is right. But if you're someone out there who you might be on the medication right now and feeling like, is this something that I'm going to have to be dealing with for the rest of my life? Just know that there is another option that might work for you. I'm not saying that it always will, because every individual has their own journey, but don't, I want you to open your mind to say that this may not be the only option that you have. There may be something else that can work, that can help you with this as well. And so if you're someone out there thinking that along those lines, there's plenty of people that you can start having the conversation with. And Jill's one of them. I'm one of them. And like I said, there's many other people who are supporting people in the queer community that really want to help unlayer some of that stuff so that you can get it off your chest and you can decide for yourself, hey, is this right for me? If it is, fantastic. If it's not, also fantastic as well. So that's an individual journey. We're not here judging anybody, but we're just trying to open your eyes to see that, because I've seen so many people be relying on something to the point where like they actually identify themselves with this disorder or this medication in their life. And I know from the experience that I've had with helping people that I've also been able to help people change that identity and live a more authentic, fulfilling life as well. As I said, Jill now has been able to do for herself as well.
Absolutely, Cristiano. And I was on medication for my mental health ever since I was in my early 20s, probably from like age 20 or 21, all the way up to just a couple of years ago, off and on. And so, probably 25 years
Wow.
almost of being on various antidepressant here and there, off and on. And I think it's like, you know, like you were saying, I think when we can go in and allow ourselves to be seen and allow ourselves to heal the trauma and be in healthy connection and community and heal all of those, negative stories that we can hold within ourselves, those core beliefs of I'm not good enough, I'm unworthy, there's something wrong with me, I'm shameful. We all have some version of that, but when we can go in and heal that, that's going to go such a long way.
Props to you, mama. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually, speaking of mama, I know that you are a parent yourself. And I also, noticed that you have, there's this, I believe you're part of a project. It's called Free Mum Hugs. And I'd love to hear more about that because I believe that's, relevant to a lot of people in the community who might feel like they don't have the same support in their life. So do you want to share what is the Free Mum Hugs? What actually got you involved with it and what's it doing for people?
I would love to share about that. So, Free Mom Hugs was founded by a mother who herself had a queer child. And initially, she struggled with accepting her child um, for their queerness. But then eventually, after learning and, doing some deconstruction herself of her own beliefs, I think the religious beliefs, she was like, no, like I'm going to love and accept my child as they are as a queer child. Um, and so I believe that's the backstory of the founding of Queer Mom Hugs. And what it is, it's an organization of moms, and there's also dads, there's like all these kind of offshoots of it. But I got involved with it last year, and I had the pleasure of marching in our local Pride parade with my Free Mom Hugs, and just it's kind of like there's so many youth, like queer youth out there who are being totally rejected by their families,
Yes.
and it's such a cause for concern for their mental health. And so it's it's sending the message to queer youth and just queer people in general that like you are lovable, you are loved. You can receive a hug or a fist bump if you don't want to be hugged. And it was like so beautiful and moving to go in this pride parade locally and just kind of just walk around and people would be like, I want a hug. And in fact,
Mm.
Cristiano, I was walking my dogs today and I had my Free Mom Hugs shirt on, and I came across these two young people walking. They were like probably high schoolers. And one of them was like, I'd give you a hug. I'd take a Free Mom hug. And I was like, oh, come here, and I like gave them a hug. And it just brought tears to my eyes because what it's all about just showing love. It's all about letting people know that they are worthy of receiving love as they are, and that they are seen. And it's just so beautiful to be a part of that.
Oh, it really is. And it warms my heart when I saw that that was something that you're a part of and that you do, because there are, as like I said, from so many people that I speak to, there's so many people who, like I said, have been rejected from their families, who may feel like they're never going to have the love of their own mother, which is heartbreaking for me, and I know heartbreaking for you as well, to feel like someone could reject their own child for who they are. But again, coming from religion, people who are deeply into religion, that can be a huge, you know, traumatic experience, right? And to have places out there that you can feel supportive and like I said, maybe it's not going to replace, the feeling that you have with your own family, but it's nice to know that like people are out there to give love because everyone deserves love. That's the moral of the story, right?
Absolutely. It's like we just, we want young people and anybody really just to feel like there are safe and loving adults who see them and accept them as they are. And that just goes such a long way.
It really does. Because, like I said, we are a community that we have shared similar struggles. Like I said, everyone's got their own story, their own journey, but there's always probably been someone out there who's gone through similar feelings, similar experiences. And it's important that we as queer people can lift the community up so that we can do our best, which is why QueerQuest was founded, was to have a safe space for people to heal, to grow, to transform, to authentically be themselves, and also to meet other people in our community to show you that love is there. because I know for so many years of my own journey, I felt unlovable and I felt like I wasn't deserving of love. And I had a supportive family. So I can only imagine people who've gone through it who don't even have that support, like what that can do to your own self-worth and your confidence and your self-esteem, and every single part of yourself can be diminished. And so building a community where, like I said, we shine and we help other people shine within our community and see that it's possible, it's only going to make things better, and it's going to help us to push the changes out there in society and in politics where we need it to be, when we can uplift ourselves from within as well.
Yes. And that's, one of the other reasons why I really wanted to make the step of just coming out more publicly, is because I do have a passion in my heart for supporting the mental health of the queer community. And of course, I had to first heal and move through my own fear of being seen. And, doing so at 47 years old, I also had to bring so much compassion to myself and just be like, hey, it's also okay that I was too afraid to come out until I was 47 years old. Like, self-compassion is the key, right? And so it feels good to be able to be on this journey, and I think it's just so important that there is representation of queer people everywhere,
Everywhere.
and also in in the mental health sphere and the coaching sphere, so that we can uplift and support other people on their journeys. And that was just a really important motivator for me. Of course, it starts with my own motivation to be seen and be authentic and live my
Yeah,
life.
totally.
But that was also very important to me. And so I felt like it was time for me to take that step.
And I love that. And I think, you know, as you heal, you also want to be someone who can help heal others. I found from that's what sparked me in this direction, was actually going through my own healing journey and realizing that, like, if I can help at least one person, let's start there. And then with one, and then when 10, then it went 100, and now it's in the hundreds. And I'm not stopping, because I believe that, everyone deserves to get to a place of that, like on that journey where they're on a healing journey, a growth journey, and a transformation journey from within, and for them to live their life authentically, whatever that looks like for them. Because that's the power of being authentic, is you choose how you live your life, not being, put down or put on expectations from society. It's your life, your choice, and you live it authentically. And when people get to that place and they're really coming from that place, they always come from a place of love. So it's never coming from a place of, oh, okay, I live my life this way, it's going to harm anyone else. No, it's actually, if you're truly your most authentic self, you're coming from a place of love. And that's the message that we're here
Exactly.
sharing. And I'm glad that you're on that journey as well, Jill.
Exactly. It's all about radiating love. And that's what I feel. It's like the opposite of love is fear. And in order to keep moving the fear out and kind of extinguishing the fear, is just to keep magnifying the love for myself first and foremost, so that I can do this work and be myself in the world, but then radiating that out to others as well.
Yeah, I love that. Final question for you, Jill. So there's many people out there listening, and they're coming from different perspectives of life. And I know that you specifically mostly focus on helping queer women. If there was a message that you could say to, whether it's your younger self or to other queer women, and you look back and someone's in a place of, like, trying to figure out where they are on their own journey of life, their queerness, what do you think that person out there really needs to hear right now? What's the one thing that Jill, her big powerful message that she can share out to herself, to other queer women, that's going to really help someone maybe spark something within themselves on their own journey?
Yes. So what comes to me here is to just share the message to these women. Let yourself be seen. Let yourself be seen. Like, reach out and just start to talk to somebody, start to slowly peel the layers away and unveil yourself. Because the world needs all of us to just be so fully ourselves and so fully authentic. And there's so much power to be had when we just let ourselves start to be seen.
Beautiful. And I love that. Yes, it's so powerful when we can allow ourselves to be seen because, first of all, we see ourselves. And then when we see ourselves, that's a powerful message. Is a part of the journey of self-love. One of the four components of it is self-awareness. And what is self-awareness? Seeing yourself as you are and embracing that. And then from that place going, okay, I'm here. Where do I want to be? And then go on that journey, because that's the most powerful thing of, like I said, self-love, awareness of where you are, and accepting where you are, but knowing that that's never going to be the final destination. So I love that, being seen.
It's like allow yourself to be seen and you're worthy of receiving support.
Beautiful. What a powerful message out there. And I trust and believe that it's going to touch someone right where they need to be seen and to be felt and to be understood.
Yes.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for coming on here, Jill. Have you got anything coming up? Where can people find you if they wanted to connect further with you, Jill?
Absolutely. So I do therapy and I'm licensed in 4 states in the US. So I'm in Iowa, Kansas, Colorado, and in Nebraska for my
Beautiful.
therapy services. And I do offer online and in person. And then also I do individual one-on-one coaching worldwide. And it is I feel my soul's mission and soul's purpose to support the well-being of other queer people. And I would just absolutely love to connect with anybody who feels drawn to reaching out.
Beautiful. And we'll link below, the best social page to connect with Jill so that if anyone out there is listening and wants to click easily, we'll find it in the comments below.
Yes.
Beautiful. Like I said, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story, your message. I trust and believe that, like I said, there are going to be many people out there in our community who can relate to it. And I trust that it'll spark something within the right person who needs to hear it. So big thank you for coming on here today, Jill.
Thank you for having me, Cristiano. It's been an absolute delight.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone out there for listening. If you've got any comments, shares, you want to share your own story with anything, you know where to find me on all social media platforms. And I'll be back next week with a brand new episode of the Queer Quest podcast. Until then, always remember that you've got this and I've got you. Bye for now.
Are you ready to embark on a transformative journey towards love and happiness? Introducing the 21-day Gay Man's Guide to Love and Happiness. This isn't just a course, it's a pathway to discovering your true self, overcoming challenges, and embracing happiness. Join hundreds of gay men who found joy and freedom. Learn from Cristiano Green, a coach with 20 years experience and a journey like yours. For a limited time, get this life-changing course at 75% off with a 100% risk-free guarantee. There's nothing to lose, but so much to gain. Your new life is just a click away. Enroll in the 21-day Gay Man's Guide to Love and Happiness today. Visit theglobalpridecollective.com and start your journey towards a happier, more fulfilled you.